G'day folks, and welcome back to GregTech New Horizons. So, over the last few days I've been fairly inactive. I've just been a little sick with a bit of a cold, so I've not really played all that much, but I did spend some time on early game progression in my Nomi Factory world, just getting ready for MV, and in the GTNH world I just did a few chores that I wanted to get done before the next video. So namely, I moved the clean room from here, where it used to sit on its little black stilts, and I used to use the elevator to get in and out through the bottom. I've now moved it over to here and made it slightly bigger, and thrown a travel anchor in the floor. I made this bigger with the intention of putting precision laser engravers in here for the different lens colors, but I've kind of realized I don't think I'm too far away off the multi-block, so that may not happen, but we'll see. The other thing is we now have a crafting LCR for making the boards. So at the moment I've got 3 tiers: the plastic boards, the epoxy boards, and the more advanced circuit boards. And they are for our Lapotron crystals, for our Lapotronic energy orbs that we will need, and for our nanocircuits. So following on from the epoxy episode, the epoxy episode ended here. We got epoxy, we were able to make sheets. So I just followed the natural progression, which was basically to get the boards, get the nano wafers, and then follow the nano circuit line from HV to EV to IV to LUV. So we have one nano processor mainframe sat in our AE system. I also got pretty lucky with IV loot bags, with enchanting a couple of IV loot bags that I upgraded from EV loot bags. And that actually got us 4 ender tanks. I think I opened about 5 of them, and it got us 4 ender tanks, which is really good. We also got 16 EV nano circuits as well, so that's really good. In terms of progression, there's just a couple of things I want to quickly touch on before we get rolling. So the first one is the previous episode. So it didn't quite work out as I expected, but I still wanted to put it up anyway. Primarily because, again, as I've said before, these are going to be just sort of fairly rough videos. And yeah, unless I think something's absolutely garbage, I'm not going to put it up. But otherwise, I am inclined to just put the videos up, including, sort of any mistakes. But just to cap that episode off, I must have misread somewhere. For some reason I thought the staff could use 1 foci, but I must have misread something, and that didn't appear to be the case when I actually managed to craft it up. But we didn't come out empty-handed. I upgraded to a void aspected amber wand for doing dislocation, which means I can use this without the discount gear now, which is really good because it means I can keep my nano suit on. And we got a upgraded and augmented crafting scepter, which is now capable of also crafting a void aspected silverwood scepter, which will put us in a really good place. For Formcraft crafting at some point. But in terms of magic videos, I don't think I'm going to make too many. Formcraft is still something I'm very inexperienced with. I've never touched it before touching GTNH. So I'm still making a lot of mistakes, I'm still learning, I'm still quite inefficient at it, and I don't think that particularly makes for great quality. Whereas GT is at least something, GT and the tech stuff is at least something I'm a little more familiar with because of my experiences in Nomi Factory. However, any magic that is tied to progression, I will definitely include, because I don't want to sort of skip anything that is tied to progression, especially big milestones. And otherwise, any other magic that I do sort of off to the side will basically just be, I will sort of recap it in the next episode and, go through any sort of mistakes or hurdles or learnings that I sort of got from that. And the same sort of goes with crops and bees. Because I've done a lot of the early stuff already, I'm at the point where I've got alvearies and so on. I won't be massively sort of touching on bee stuff unless I get, unless I sort of start to move to industrial apiaries or I get into gendustry, or which I probably will at some point, or I get, or I may just do recaps of. Otherwise, I'll probably just do recaps of, if I got like, when I eventually get the Lapatron bee, etc. And crops, I'm probably just not going to touch on all that much unless I get a particularly good crop. Crops will just be a side note, pretty much, because they're not that interesting, in all honesty. At least not to me. I've spent enough time with crops. And basically, what I've sort of realized today is my playtime is actually around 1,600 hours, apparently. I suspect that is somewhat inaccurate, simply because there is a lot of time where I will AFK the client simply because I go for a walk, or I forget to disconnect when I start work, or I get distracted playing another game or something like that. I don't get any benefit from AFKing the client. This is a server world that is running basically 24/7, which is why the world is so old. It's 45 years old now, nearly 46 years old. But the thing is that even I'm willing to bet that I'm still over 1,000 hours, and I feel like I should be sort of further along than I am. I'm currently in IV. I'm currently in IV, or just barely in IV. I have the IV assembler and the IV mixer, so I can make the mixing multi-block, and I can make the IV components. So I think I'm technically in IV now. But I haven't got the tier 2 rocket yet, for example. And I think the reason being is the pack does open up quite a bit post-moon. You get a lot of quality of life stuff. You get AE. You can start to do a lot more magic in sort of HV, EV. There's obviously bees and crops, which are pretty big time sinks as well. And I basically did all three. I did bees, crops, and magic, and sunk a lot of time into those. If I had my time again, I would definitely sink a lot less time into crops, because I think I started crops too early. And I don't know why, I saw an appeal to having passive resources from crops, but realistically, my time would have been better spent just gathering resources. That would have actually been much more efficient. The only exception is certain stuff like stickweed. I would definitely still get stickweed as early as possible, because it's much nicer for sticky resin than going and mining, going and chopping down rubber trees, or rubber tree farming. But yeah, so I just wanted to sort of mention that it is, I am enjoying the pack still. I do intend to continue. Our current goal is the tier 8 rocket, as of now. And that will allow us to see most of the pack, I believe. But then we'll decide, if I actually get there, then we'll decide to whether or not we sort of continue on after that. But if you've made it this far, though, I do thank you for listening to my little preamble. I am playing the pack at my own pace. I do, but every now and again, we do sometimes compare ourselves to other people's runs, other people's performances, etc. GTNH should be no different, or GTNH is no different. And I think I just, even though I am playing at my own pace and I am enjoying the pack, I think I am just playing it a bit slow. So I really want to get focused back onto progression. And basically, to do that, we really need to get two things sorted. So the first one is power. So we have a good stable source of power generation, but I think our power spine could do with a bit of work. I mean, our power generation is only 10 amps of EV, but at least it is renewable, and it is renewable and stable through these gas turbines. But once we get the tier 2 rocket, we will actually get access to better turbine materials than these vibrant alloy. So that is something, or once we do the platline, because I think once we do platline, we could do HSSE turbines, which are like double the output of the vibrant alloy ones. But for now, they do the job, and vibrant alloy for us is renewable because we have the vibrant alloy B. So yeah, Bs were worth me sinking time into. Some of them anyway, especially the ones like the explosive B. You know, I never want to make ITNT again, so explosive B is good, and that will definitely come in handy when we come to do the rocket, because we'll need ITNT for the compressed plates. But yeah, at the moment we're still feeding a 16 amp battery buffer and transforming that up to 4 amps of IV. So what I want to do is I want to get this replaced with an IV buffer, and then either upgrade this to HSSG cable and basically transform up to LUV, or we will, or we can put HSSG cable on and just continue to run it at IV. And then at least when we upgrade to the power spline to LUV, we won't have to actually upgrade the cable. So that is basically what I'm considering. That's basically what I want to get done. The Lapatronic energy orbs are pretty much crafted. So we should have all of them. Yeah, we do. So I crafted these today. I actually took a couple of attempts at recording this episode, so that's why they're sort of already crafted. But we'll get. I still need to do the battery buffer, and I still need to replace all the cable with basically better cable. At the moment, we're using, I think it's 2x. Yeah, 2x tungsten steel cable at the moment. So we need to replace this with something else. Or because I really don't, I would have to make 8x tungsten steel cable to get the 16 amp capacity, and I really don't want to do that. I would prefer to do a more efficient cable. We do also have platinum cable as an option, primarily because I have a stupid amount of platinum, because I've been making platinum the inefficient way from the well, I used to have 1,000 platinum, I now have 800. But I was making platinum the inefficient way from the platinum metallic powder recipe in the blast furnace, because in a HSSG blast furnace, that's, you know, pretty fast. And that's also something else I would definitely do differently, is craft more blast furnaces. I still only have one. I think I need more. I think I really need more than one. So it is at HSSG now. I rushed the IV assembler so then I could get the HSSG coils, which is primarily why I didn't use the HSSG to build the Tier 2 rocket. The other big thing that we really need to get sorted is ore processing. So our ore processing setup is still a very slow, mostly HV era setup using Ender-IO conduits, and it's still in the ocean world. Most of the infrastructure is still moved out here, but the blast furnace is still there. But there's no AE network here anymore, so I just hooked up a bunch of super tanks to keep it going because I haven't been bothered to move it yet. But basically, these 20 HV turbines, they're now basically just powering that blast furnace. And ore processing is also still here, but this is being powered by the bees up there that I haven't moved yet. So this is basically, it's got an EV centrifuge, which is fine. We can pinch that and use it in the new setup. But it's using HV macerators. It's using, why is everything? Oh, everything's clogged up. I'll deal with that. But we're still using HV macerators and HV, you know, chemical baths and washing plants and so on. So the plan is that we will. Oh, and I have a massive backlog of platinum concentrate from the nickel bee as well. So basically, when I set the bees up in here, I had to AFK for a couple of weeks for work reasons, and basically the bees were all still going because this is a server world. So the bees were all still going, and most of their resources were just going into voiding draws. But the platinum combs also produce platinum concentrate, so I have nearly 4,000 buckets of platinum concentrate that we need to, you know, process. But yeah, the other big thing is we need to rebuild this ore processing setup. It was good for the HV era, or for the pre-AE era, because the centrifuge was obviously an EV machine, and I built a lot of this in EV. But it was good for the pre-AE era, but I now have very wide access to applied energistics, so we need to get a system that's integrated with applied energistics. So basically, there's going to be sort of two bits to this video. We're going to get the power spine upgrade sorted, which is probably going to require me to cook up some more HSSG, which is going to require me to get some more tungsten because I'm almost out of tungsten. And the other thing, and I do have a load of tungsten combs from the tungsten bee, but I don't actually have an LCR to process them in at the moment. And then the other thing that we will probably look at is laying out the space for our new ore processing setup. And then I think in the next episode, we will look at the actual ore processing line. How getting it set up with AE and getting all the machines set up and so on. So I'm gonna go away now, and I'm going to go and get the IV battery buffer crafted and grab the and throw some more stuff in the blast furnace. And then once that's cooked, we'll come back and we'll get the power spine upgraded. So I'll see you guys in a bit. And we are back. So I realized I needed more IV transformers than I'd accounted for. I actually needed 3 regular ones for those, one for each of those platforms and one for the AE network. I could do an IV cable diode actually, to be honest, but and just get rid of the EV transformer, but we'll leave it like this for now. Primarily because I'm running dangerously low on tungsten, and I don't know if a cable diode needs IV. I don't know if an IV cable diode. I would just do one. I would do 1 amp, but I would do a 2 amp diode, but limit it to 1 amp. Yeah, it needs tungsten cable. I'm running dangerously low on tungsten. I have almost none left, so I need to do something about that between episodes. I have a load of endstone dust, but I don't have the sodium tungstate line going to process it, so I really need to get that. I'll probably just passive it over here. A really cheap and cheerful setup, probably here or something, just to get sodium tungstate going. But otherwise, to get tungsten dust going from the tungstate. But otherwise, we're happily charging. We have our 16 amps of IV being slowly charged by the EV turbines up there. And this is converting up to 4 amps of LUV. So we should have a lot less problems with cable loss now. Realistically, the only problem we had was this mixer. This mixer can use 8160 EU per tick with a full input bus. So we were actually suffering from cable loss because of the length of the IV line. So what I did is after the EV transformer, I just shoved the battery buffer to mitigate the cable loss. But we can probably get rid of that now. We should actually be able to get rid of that now and just power it directly off the transformer, because up to here, each one of these is getting an amp of LUV, and then the cable loss will sort of start again from here to carry. So there'll be plenty of there should be plenty of room. There may not be actually. Because 8160 is pretty tight, so that may not. Yeah, because the loss on this is 2 EU per volt. Is 2 EU volts per meter. So this may not actually be. Yeah, We may have to... I may just leave this battery buffer in place for now because I really don't want to move this mixer. Yeah, I really don't want to move this mixer, so I may just leave that battery buffer in place for now. Because honestly, the next upgrade for that will be to eventually upgrade it to LUV energy hatches. Or sorry, to double IV hatches to get it to LUV. So we'll just leave it like that for now. It's not doing any harm. But otherwise, we are good and everything's chugging along. So what we should really look at now, is the space where ore processing is going to go. So I have loads of Lapitron crystals in my inventory. They're probably just... I don't know what I'm going to do with them. I might save them for the supercapacitor. When I look at the building out the supercapacitor, that needs a fair number of Lapitron crystals, I believe, for the capacitor blocks. So I'll probably just look at saving them for those. So what I'm thinking I'll do is I want to do sort of like a refinery type building sort of thing. I want it, I don't just want it to be a platform, and I want it to kind of have chimneys that come up, but obviously I don't want it to hit this. So what I'm probably gonna do is actually make a staircase from here down a few levels, basically to just bring the elevation down a bit. Would that be... yeah, that... oh, actually, I don't know. There might actually be enough... might actually be enough space. So I'm just gonna play about with... a few designs in... my local copy of the world, and then I'm gonna get it built in... and then I'll get it built in this world once I've decided on something, and then we'll come back and have a look. We're only going to get the space built today. The infrastructure will be in the next episode, so we'll look at getting well, AE will just come from here, so that should be simple enough. We should hopefully have enough faces on this controller. I may need to make this controller bigger. Yeah, I mean, we've got 8 more faces to use, and I'm fairly sure... oh no, they are... yeah, they are linked, aren't they? Yeah, they're linked. I'm not sure if all the ones on the top are linked. I think I reserved those. I think I just put them down. Yeah, most of these are unlinked. Because they're meant to be used for up here. Because originally I was going to run ME to each of the crop fields, and I was going to run it to the... well, I am definitely going to run it to the hives, because some of the hives I'm going to level emit, as I think I've mentioned before. I'm going to level emit the more expensive hives. Things like Vibrant Alloy, for example, that take HV to process, or Tungsten that takes IV to process. They're going to be level emitted, because I don't want them running all the time. At least not now. There will be a phase in the future where I have power to burn, but not right now. I don't. Not that sort of power anyway. So the way that I was going to wire this up is there was going to be 2 P2P tunnels per side, but I might not actually need that, simply because, which if I don't, it means I could use ME conduits, which would be nice. But I may not actually need 2 P2P tunnels, because... so this can only have 30 hives. I think, is it... yeah, it's 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, it's 30 hives. It's 30 hives per side. So we can have a total of... so yeah, so it's 60 hives per side. But not all of them are gonna be level emitted. I mean, there's already 12 here that won't be level emitted. So, and these ones here, these are only LV. These combs only take LV, so they're not going to be level emitted either. And they are things They are things that we will use, well, Certus will definitely use pretty often because we need it for AE. And zinc, I mean, at the moment I'm only really using zinc for item filters, but I'm sure it'll get used for other stuff. So we might be able to get away with just one P2P tunnel, so I think we'll have plenty of faces on this controller. And we probably won't end up running AE under here. I quite like this system where it's just item conduit in, and fluid conduit in, which carries basically fluid conduit carries power and water, or fuel and water for the generator and for the crop manager, and then item conduit carries fertilizer in and crop harvests and crop yields out, which is good. Because originally I was going to level emit some of these crops, but I don't think I need to, in all honesty. Most of them are very simple processing chains. You know, the transformium is just a fluid extractor for the UUM berries, and then the UUA berries I'm going to stockpile and eventually use to make UU amplifier. You know, these are all basically just getting collected and going into voiding stuff. I think it was more I was going to level emit to try and save fuel, but these aren't even touching the diesel. You know, these even the four I've got now aren't making a scratch in the diesel supply being produced by the bees. And bearing in mind, I still have 3 more hives to move over. So yeah, I don't think we'll need AE up here. I can always expand this controller later by just bringing it down and turning it into a cube. It'll just be a bit of a pain, but it should be good. But I need to bring the LUV cable all the way over here as well. I'm not going to expand out any further this way. Like, I'm not going to expand beyond the end of the B platform. I'm probably not going to expand out this way from this tower either. Realistically, the future expansions will be out from the central tower where the AE stuff is, because that's also where the power is. I could do ore processing off of there as well, but I'm not sure if I want to do that. I'm not sure if I want to do that, but I could technically do ore processing, say, off of, like, here. But I want to keep this space sort of free for now, or keep those directions free, and that direction is purely for power. So basically anything power will be built in that direction, pretty much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a bit of a tinker around and figure out how I want to sort of put this together and try and make it pretty, or pretty-ish. And then we'll come back and have a look at it and talk about how we're going to get the about how the system's going to fit in, and then we'll wrap the episode, and then the next episode will be around the actually implementing it, which may be a multi-episode job to implement it, maybe a 2-episode job to implement it. We'll see. But yeah, we'll look at getting it implemented. Start getting it implemented in the next episode. So I'll see you guys in a bit. And we are back. So I've gotten the space. Laid out. So again, I'm not much of a builder, but I want to do something that's at least not flat platforms. So the way this will work, so got nice stairs going down to the basement. So this will be where all the cables and AE are tucked away. So basically, there are areas set out for each step in the chain. So ore washers, simple washers. I may not necessarily need 4 simple washers, and I may not necessarily need 4 ore washers. So the simple washers and the ore washers could potentially go in the same segment. And then we've got centrifuges, thermal centrifuges, macerators, and basically other miscellaneous bits. So it'll be like sifters and smelters, but there'll probably be an electrolyzer here as well, etc. And the way this is going to work is so power and AE from the resource net will come into here, There may be a need for mainnet to come in here as well. I don't quite know. But they're basically coming through this wall under this platform. And each of these segments will have its own AE controller. And will effectively act as its own little subnet, and probably just have like a single disk drive for buffering. And we'll use interfaces and storage buses to basically filter what items go to which segment. So the idea is that eventually we should be able to just hook up an ender chest. I might make a section for that somewhere down here, where we can just hook up an ender chest, and everything gets thrown in, and it gets filtered by AE. I'm hoping this should be enough expansion. So at least as far as I'm aware from looking, the sort of biggest footprint multi-block is the ore washer, I believe. So that's the biggest footprint. So I've made sure that each area could fit 4 of those, which means it should be able to fit significantly more of the other multi-blocks. So this should be fairly expandable. The other thing is the height. So the maximum height, I believe, is the maceration tower, which is 6 high. So this room is 7 high. So there should be no issues with the macerators. So yeah, hopefully this should, when this is completely filled to the brim with machines, and bearing in mind I can overclock those machines, and some of those machines have extremely high efficiencies, like the ore washer, which is 400% faster than a single block of the same voltage, and also gains an additional 4 parallels per tier. So we should be good with this for a while. This actually looks pretty good at night with the shaders as well, with the stars and whatnot, and it also looks good when the sun is setting as well. So that's quite when the sunset comes through the window as well. So it should look quite good. So what I'm gonna do is we'll wrap the episode here. I know it's probably been a little bit of a weird one, but I'm sort of getting back into the swing of things after feeling a bit off for a few days. And obviously, we got the power, the power spine upgraded, so we are now on a 4 amp LUV power spine. So I'm hoping that in the next episode we will get ore processing set up. I have a load of stuff to craft. I need to replenish a lot of resources, especially for these GT++ multi-blocks. They use a lot of resources. So I need to refresh a lot of resources and get a lot of machines crafted. And I think what I'll do is I'll get all the machines crafted, and then the episode will sort of focus on assembling it and basically getting it all working and testing it. So if you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day.